All right, hello and welcome. So glad to see everybody. Really excited for today's session. We're going to be talking all about how to optimize your website for maximum conversion in your plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or home services business. Really, when I think about your overall internet marketing strategy, and I think about the various things you want to be doing in order to get the phones ringing and in order to keep the trucks running, I really think about it in terms of this model we call the accelerated growth model. And this is something we've worked on over the years and something we implement for all of our clients. It kind of looks at what are the key areas you need to focus on in your online marketing in order to accelerate the growth, in order to take things to the next level. And really, it comes down to driving leads, maximizing conversion, and optimizing for results, right? And I've done a deep dive session on this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but we drive leads through organic, making sure our website's coming up in the non-paid listings, making sure we're coming up in the directory listings. We're showing up where our customers are looking. And the great thing about organic is we don't have to pay every time somebody clicks us, and we don't have to pay for every lead that we generate. It's things we do with our website and our content and our authority that helps us drive organic traffic. In addition to that, we want to drive traffic through paid mechanisms like Google ads and local service ads and Facebook ads and other advertising channels in order to drive traffic. And then we also want to make sure we're driving traffic and driving leads through database marketing, like thinking about that customer base we've done business with in the past that either acquired or we were in their home, and we can send them follow-up offers. We can send them, hey, look, we're going to be in that area. We'd like to send a tech by. Hey, are you having any issues with your water heater or your plumbing or your HVAC system? And we find that when you do these three things well, you can have as many leads as you need, right? The phone can be ringing, the trucks can be running. And so, that's a big piece of the equation. But a lot of us stop there. Like, okay, we're going to focus on SEO. We're going to focus on paid search. But the reality is, in order to really get the results we want, we also have to maximize conversion. Like we have to maximize the conversion from a visitor into a lead, and then we've got to maximize conversion of that lead into an actual book job. And ideally, we want to maximize conversion from that one-time customer into becoming a repeat customer that uses us again and again and refers us to others. And so when it comes to maximizing conversion, the three things we focus on here, first of all, is your website, right? If most of the visitors are getting to your website before they convert, then we want to make sure we've got all of the right elements in place in terms of conversion factors, personality, authenticity, load speed, in order to convert as many of our visitors into leads. And that's what we're going to be spending most of the time on today, is really figuring out what you can do on your website to double or triple the conversion rate from visitor to lead. Now, we don't want to stop there. We also want to look at what else impacts our conversion. And that's our reputation, right? The number of reviews we have, what the general review sentiment in the marketplace is. If we don't have a great reputation, we could have a beautiful website. We could be driving all of the best organic traffic, but if we've got a bunch of 3- and 2-star reviews saying that we're a ripoff online, and the general sentiment is saying that, then that's going to hurt our conversion from lead to sale, right? Obviously, that just makes sense. So we want to optimize for our reputations, very specific things we can do there. But then we also want to make sure we're leveraging automation. In today's marketplace, your customer would prefer to interact via text message than via phone, than phone call. They'd also prefer to book directly online if they have that opportunity versus sending a text, waiting around, scheduling a thing. And so automation now exists where we can make it really easy for our customer to schedule in, where we can communicate with them via two-way text message, where we can follow up more quickly with the leads that we generate. And so we don't want to just think about, oh, is my website pretty? Is my website loading quickly? We also want to think, are we leveraging automation to convert more and more of those visitors into leads, more and more of those leads into book jobs, and more of those book jobs into repeat customers, right? And then the bottom portion of this triangle here is optimizing for results, right? When we do this correctly, whatever your goal is, let's say to add 1 million or add 3 million over the next couple of years, when we do this correctly, we should be able to keep ourselves in a constant state of accelerated growth. And usually when it comes to optimizing results, the first thing we have to think about is total spend. How much are we investing in our marketing, right? And as you grow and as you scale and as you look to take things to the next level, oftentimes you have to expend more money, right? We got to spend more on the SEO, more on the pay-per-click, so that we have more gasoline to drive our results. And usually I see people get hung up in their mind. They've said, okay, my marketing is going to be whatever it is, $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, and they just want to keep it at that level. Well, we know that as you grow, you should probably be investing back another 10 to 15% of your revenue into marketing. And so if the goal is to go from $1 million to $2 million, right, then by percentage, you should have more money that you can invest in local service ads, in Facebook ads. So a lot of times we need to spend more, right? If we want to play in all of these different avenues that are available to grow our business, we need to spend a little bit more. From there, we also want to make sure we've got a nice tight dial on the average cost per lead, right? If we don't know how much we're spending on a monthly basis and what our average cost per lead is, it can start to feel like, you know what, I'm spending a ton of money, but I don't know if I'm winning. I don't know if I'm getting a return on investment. I don't know if this is actually panning out, right? So we want to make sure that if we're going to spend money driving leads and maximizing conversion, that we've got really good tracking in place where we can see what our average cost per lead is for drains or for water heaters or for general plumbing services. Know what your average cost per lead is down to the service. But most importantly, we want to optimize for ROI, return on investment, right? Because if we can confidently track and say, hey, I'm fine spending $1 as long as I'm getting $6 or $7 on the other side of that. As long as we can track that really, really well, then we can continue to spend more on the areas that are actually generating the best results. So I just wanted to kind of Cliff Notes version this for you guys real quick before we get into the specifics on the website, because yes, we want to go deep on website, but the reality is if you're not looking at the big picture as it relates to your digital marketing and the goals that you're looking to accomplish, you just get really focused on very specific minutia that might not move the needle. Let me know in the comments if that was helpful, if that makes sense, if some of that tracked for you. Hopefully something stands out that you're like, you know what, I need to change this, or I need to optimize for that, or I need to focus on this within my business. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about how to optimize your website for conversion. We talked about the growth model. And I showed you the model. This visual really shows, like, more specifically within each of these categories, what it means, what you need to focus on, where it goes. But today is going to be all about your website. And it's going to be all about the specific things you can do on your website to maximize your conversion. So if you don't mind, let's all focus on this, close the other tabs, just focus on this for the next 45 minutes. I'll show you the specific things you can do on your website. I'll show you specific examples and case studies of websites that are converting really, really well. So this will be a very practical and very actionable session. For those of you that don't know, my name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right, the top-selling book on digital marketing for plumbing, HVAC, and home services. I'm really actively involved in Nexstar, QSC, Service Roundtable, CEO Warrior. I've spoken to a lot of the events and conferences and put on trainings for these organizations. But I'd say more important than any of that stuff is I've had the opportunity to work with hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors in some of the most competitive markets across the country, and seen many of them go from struggling online to the point where they're now the dominant players in their market. Many of them seeing literally millions of dollars in revenue growth over the years. And so what I share with you isn't based on theory. It's not based on what I read on Search Engine Land or something like that. It's based on real world experience working with companies just like yours, figuring out what works, what doesn't, figuring out, the 80-20, right? What's the 20% of things we can focus on that are actually going to generate 80% of the results? And this is what we do as an organization. Plumbing and HVAC SEO is a full service digital marketing agency. We've got 30 plus employees, and this is what we do all day, every day. We build the websites, we write the content, we optimize the search campaigns, we optimize the paid services, we put the marketing automation in place with the goal of helping you triple your sales by getting your internet marketing right. And so if you're not a client and you're interested in having us look at what you're doing today and how we might help, we'd love the opportunity to do a deep dive review of your current online marketing or your current website and show you how we can help. If you want to do that, you can go to plumberseo.net/ schedule. That's plumberseo.net/schedule. Looks like Christian just dropped it in. We'd love the opportunity to review what you have. No pressure, no obligation, and we'll show you exactly where there's room for improvement. So as it relates to your website, and really in your plumbing HVAC home service business, the challenge, as I see it, is you're making a big investment in marketing. As a whole, home service companies you can spend a lot of money, right? You've spent a lot of money on Yellow Pages in the past. You spend a lot of money on Google Ads, on the various pay-per-click services, on Home Advisor and Angie, and let's face it, we spend a lot of money in marketing, and often we get traffic, but we don't get the lead flow that we need. Give me a yes if you feel like, man, I've spent the money, but I just don't have the results to show for it. And I need to make sure that there's a return on investment. Unfortunately, good, bad, or indifferent, there's a lot of people selling these internet marketing services, and it's not infrequent that I hear, I spent the money, but I didn't get a return on investment, or I got maybe enough leads and enough jobs to break even, but it wasn't super profitable. So that can be really, really frustrating. But I think the biggest problem, the biggest reason we need to focus on this in our home service businesses is because the biggest challenge in this industry actually is finding good quality technicians, keeping them staffed, keeping them on point. And if you wind up with parked trucks because you don't have enough lead flow, because your phone isn't ringing enough, the bigger problem would be not having a full schedule, having technicians that you've trained up, that you got in place, leaving to the competition, right? And so it's really important that we have the right strategy in place to keep those trucks running, to keep those technicians in place. And so the opportunity, and really what we're focused on today, is making sure that you've got a great website that's built to convert, that you're able to consistently convert your visitors into leads at the highest level possible, and you can keep that schedule full. And you've got a knob that you can dial and say, hey, I can confidently go out and hire that next technician and build that apprentice program, because I know that as I bring on new techs, they're going to have enough deal flow, they're going to have enough job flow to keep them busy, so that they're going to stay with our organization. And that's going to keep you in a state of constant momentum and growth within your business. It's really success. What we're after is phones ringing, trucks running, business booming. Give me a yes in the comments if that would be a great outcome, right? If we can help you figure out for that on today's session. Okay, so your website, really, and I believe this wholeheartedly, your website is the hub. And so you might be doing a lot of different marketing, whether you're doing internet-based marketing like SEO and pay-per-click. Obviously, they're going to get to the website. But in addition to that, if you've got wrapped trucks, that's great marketing for you. If you're running billboard ads, or you're active in your local community, all of that advertising, what ultimately happens is when the customer's ready, right? They've got the plumbing that's not working, or the AC is not cooling correctly. When they're ready, they've seen your advertising in the past. Usually they're going to search your company name, and they're going to wind up where? They're going to wind up on your website. And so if your website isn't built to convert, it's going to negatively impact all of the other advertising, all of the other brand awareness that you have within your marketplace. And so this is super important. And I'm just going to show a scenario of a website that converts well versus one that doesn't, and how that has financial ramifications. Just as an example, typical plumbing HVAC home service company generates anywhere between 500 and 2,000 visitors per month, right? Just from their organic traffic and some basic paid search. So if your website converts at 5%, which my team and I evaluate home service websites every day. Unfortunately, that's about the norm. Between 5 and 10% is about the norm. So let's say you've got 1,500 visitors, you convert at 5%. That would mean you got 75 leads from your traffic. Let's say you convert 30% of your leads into book jobs. That would be 22 book jobs. Let's say your average transactions value is 450. And I know that's low, but let's just say it was an average of 450. That would mean for those 1,500 or so visitors, you generate 10 grand, right? Not going to do much for you. Now, same scenario here. We've got 1,500 visitors, but we're able to dial in the conversion, right? Now, I'm going to show you very specific things that you can do that will absolutely make sure that your website converts at 15% or higher. Actually, I'm going to show you lots of examples of plumbing and HVAC websites converting at 30%. But let's just say we can improve it from 5% to 15% without spending another dollar in traffic, without spending another dollar in ads, without doing any additional, advertising or spend. We go to 225 leads. Let's keep the conversion rate the same. That means we've got 67 book jobs. Let's keep the average transaction value at 450. That's $30,000 in revenue on the same traffic. And so this is super important, right? It's going to make everything you do from a marketing perspective more effective if we can convert traffic from our website into leads at a higher level. And so a great real world example of this is Laney's. Laney's is a full service plumbing, HVAC remodeling company based in Fargo, North Dakota. We've been working with them for many years, and they're pretty well known in their marketplace. They're kind of the 100-pound gorilla, but they hadn't really invested heavily in their website. So they had a website. You can see a visual of it over here on the left. And it was just one of those, basic websites that they must have gotten from the Yellow Page company or something like that. No branding, no personality, no authenticity, wasn't mobile friendly or mobile optimized. You did not have conversion factors in terms of how to call or how to book online. And we were able to come in and say, hey, let's roll out a website that's got all of the right conversion factors. Well, I'll be going through this with you guys on today's call, but we built it out, right, with personality, authenticity, all the right conversion factors. And you can see their call volume went from, without driving any more traffic, from 55 calls to 375 calls in a very, very short span of time. Now, as we started to drive more traffic and we started to get them ranked organically and we started to roll out the entire digital dominance method and the accelerated growth model, you can see here we've tracked over 930 leads, and that was at a timestamp in time. And today they literally generate thousands of leads every single month from their website. And so this is important, right? Getting the website right can make a huge impact on all of the different advertising that you do. We'd love to know from in the comments, why is dialing in your conversion important for you? Or just think that thought, right? Because I don't want this just to be talking the whole time. I want you to be thinking about, how does this apply to you? Why is this important? How's this going to impact your business? Okay, so we have a great workbook. I'm going to open this up just as a point of reference, but if you go to plumberseo.net/convert-workbook, you'll have this. This has got a checklist for you. It's got live examples for you. And most importantly, it's got your action plan on how to implement and get the results. And so, I'm not going to do the session based on this right now, but I want you to know that you have it. And I promise if you make some of the adjustments I'm going to be showing you on today's session, it will impact your lead flow. I've also included a link here if you'd like to have us do a custom evaluation of your website, of your SEO, of your paid search, of your online marketing strategy. No cost. You can click that button there and schedule a time for us to go through this with you. So let's get into 12 critical factors for conversion, and I'm gonna talk bullets, and then we're gonna get into example after example after example, so you can see the real world, how this plays on a real website and how that kind of translates into increased lead flow, increased growth, and ultimately increased revenue. So 12 critical things you want to think about as you look at your website. Number one, and probably least obvious, is you want to make sure that the website's speaking to the customer avatar. So your customer, the homeowner that gets to your website, has very specific frustrations, pains, and fears. And usually, if you haven't thought about your website in this context, your website is just very text heavy. It's like, hey, plumbing, drains, water heaters, and it's just talking about the technical aspect of what you do. When you think about your website and the way that it's written from the perspective of the customer, their pains, right? Oh man, my plumbing's not working. I'm going to have to take off work or take time away from the family in order to get this solved. I'm calling all these plumbing companies and they're not answering the phone. And, what if I schedule with somebody and they don't show up and I've taken off time for work for that? If you can get into your customer's mindset and you can make sure your website is written for that person with that frustration, it's going to convert much better. I'll show you some examples of how you do this in the copy on your website. But number one, is it talking to that customer and their fears and their frustrations, or is it just talking about you and how long you've been in business and why you're a great company, first and foremost? Number two is we want to be real and authentic, which means people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so on your website, if we're just using stock imagery, like the picture of the smiling technician or a happy family, that's not going to be nearly as impactful as if we see real images of your team, real images of the actual company owner, real images of the people behind the organization. We've split tested this over the years, where we made a really fancy website and it was just all stock imagery versus an authentic website that had pictures of the owner, pictures of the team, and it always converts better when we have authentic imagery. So is your website being real? Is it really showing who you are as an organization? Number three is we want to use video and multimedia, right? Even on mobile phones, your customer, when they get there, if they've got the opportunity to watch a video about what you do, the problems you solve, why somebody should choose you versus the competition, it engages a different modality, right? It's just, yes, I've seen a picture. Yes, it seems like a legit company. Now I've seen a video of you talking to me about why I should choose you versus the competition. When we use video and multimedia, it improves the amount of time they stay with your website, which helps with SEO, but it also helps them resonate with your company at a different level, which means they're going to more likely choose you. And that's what we want, right? We don't want just them to call us because we were the first one that came up. We want them to have selected us, because then they're going to give you more time to show up. They're going to be willing to pay more because they're trying to work with your company, not just a company that happens to provide this particular service. So with multimedia, we can have a welcome to the website video, videos for each of your service. If you do water heaters and drains and repiping and indoor air quality and whatever the services are, if you can record a simple video, and it could just be you from your smartphone talking about that service, that goes a long ways for conversion. And then, of course, talking about what your unique selling proposition is, why somebody should choose you versus the competition. So leverage multimedia on your website. Number four is to leverage social proof, right? All other things being equal, they want to make sure that the company they choose actually does what they say, is going to be reputable, is going to do a good job. And you could say until you're blue in the face on your website how great you are, how reputable you are, how great your technicians are. But something different happens when they hear other people say it. And so we want to take the reviews that we have on Google, on Angie, on Nextdoor, wherever we happen to have lots of great feedback. And we want to make sure we're featuring that front and center on the website, right? Because then you can build that social proof, that authority, where, again, they're more likely to choose you versus the competition. This has a big impact on how effectively your websites can convert visitors into leads. From there, we want to get the basic things in order. There's some very basic things you can do on your website. Having your phone number in the top right-hand corner. The eye naturally gravitates to that side. If you don't have a phone number there, then they're trying to click around, go to the contact us page, scroll down, just make it really easy. Most of your conversions, even with text messaging, even with online scheduling, is still going to be from the person calling your office. So make sure that phone number is front and center in the right place. Ensure there's a web form that they can fill in, or online scheduling. Not everybody's in a place where they can call. Maybe they're at work. Maybe they've got their kids screaming in the background, and they just want to get to a place where they can submit a request and start a conversation. So give them the opportunity to convert in more than one way. Add symbols that they would recognize. Like if you're part of BBB, if you're an Angie's List Super Service Award winner, your customer recognizes that. And so if you can add that to your website, it helps with conversion. Make sure that you've got a clear call to action. Like in each of the blocks of text and each of the pages on your website, tell them what to do, right? Click here to schedule online, call us at this number, and let's schedule your service call. Let's solve your problem. Tell them that. Tell them exactly what to do in the text on your website. Use special offers and coupons, right? Sometimes they need a little bump on why they should choose you versus the competition. And sometimes knowing that there's a special incentive, there's a little bit of scarcity there, makes them want to choose you versus the competition. Be sure that your website is mobile optimized. And in today's market, I don't even think I need to say this, but the reality is 70% or more of your visitors aren't pulling up a desktop version of your site. Like they're taking out their mobile phone, they're looking for you, and they're pulling up your website on the phone. And so if your website doesn't conform to all of the different screen sizes that people have, and there's not an easy click to call button, that is a huge problem, right? And a huge opportunity for improvement. So I would encourage you, pull your website on a mobile phone up and kind of scroll around and see, is it easy to get there? Is it easy to make the call? Is it easy to convert into a actual lead? Leverage live chat, and ideally two-way text message live chat. Your customer in today's environment, if they get the opportunity, would prefer to chat with you or text with you than to have to call you. And so you can either decide to say, hey, you know what? They have to call, right? Because that's how we've done business for all of these years. Or you can be on the front end of where the technology is going and give them the opportunity to chat with you on two-way text message. Have a mechanism where they can solve their problem without having to physically speak to somebody. And then give them the opportunity to book online. If you're using ServiceTitan or House Call Pro or Sarah or any of the later dispatch platforms, they all have the ability for somebody to schedule a time. And I think a lot of people get hung up on this because they're like, you know what, I don't want to let them schedule because I don't have it matched up in my dispatch system or whatever the case is. Don't let that stop you from letting people soft book a time. Like you could have a version of your calendar that says, you know what, they can book anytime in the next 24 hours on these days at this time. And once they schedule, then somebody in your office knows it's somebody that's trying to book. Hey, call, I see you scheduled for tomorrow at 3. Unfortunately, we're double booked, but I can do 1, or I can do the next day. The key with the online scheduling is recognizing that your customer is trying to solve a problem and they're trying to move quickly. They don't want to deal with this. They just want it off their plate. And so the quicker you can let them off the hook where it's like, hey, I've scheduled a time, the more likely they're just going to shut the browser and move on with their day. If they have to call your office and they have to leave a voicemail or have to submit a form and wait for somebody to get back to them, in their mind, this isn't done, right? And they're going to click back and they're going to keep searching and they're going to call the next company until somebody gives them a booking date and time. So let them book online, even if you have to adjust that time. Don't feel it has to be locked in stone, because if you give them the opportunity to book and that's what they want to do, and they've booked it in their mind, I've booked it. I've scheduled something, and they're going to stop their search. Hopefully that makes sense. Like if you don't change anything else, but you say, hey, you know what, I'm going to put online scheduling as an option on my website, you're going to get more conversions. You're going to lose less visitors to the competition and to the other website, and kind of that speed to lead problem that we all face. Number 11 is site speed matters. And this is really important. Pull your website on GT Metrics or on one of the other site speed sites. If your website takes 3-5 seconds to load, especially on a mobile phone, they're not going to sit around and wait, right? And so be sure that your website loads very, very quickly, and it creates a great experience for the customer. And then last but not least, be sure that you're engaging via SMS and automation, right? Speed lead, I'll talk more about this as we go, but the speed at which you follow up with a potential customer will dictate whether they hire you or the competition. And if you're not following up in 5 minutes or less on the web submissions, on the missed calls, they're going to somebody else. And so automation now exists where if somebody submits a form, we can automatically text message them. We can automatically call them and be like, hey, you just filled in the form. How can we help? Right? And so we want to make sure we're using automation and we're leveraging two-way text messaging, because that's how your customer prefers to engage, to convert more of your leads at a higher level. So I went through a lot of bullets, and I apologize for that, but I did want to make the point. I did want to make it clear before showing live examples what I'm talking about. As you think about those components, those 12 key things you can add to your website or modify on your website, like what's the biggest impact for you? What's the one that you need to go change, or you need to go implement, or you need to kind of roll in to your online marketing strategy? Awesome. So what I want to do now is I want to show some live examples of this in the real world and live examples of how this plays out. So a great example, a company we've worked with for years and years and years, is Valley Plumbing. And I'm going to show you the website. I'm going to show you some of the tracking data so that you can see kind of how this plays. And so our team built this website. You can see above the fold, a couple of the basic things I talked about, right? Phone number in the top right-hand corner, personality and authenticity. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the fact that we're seeing Lawrence, we're seeing the team, we're seeing Robbie, we're seeing them in the branded shirt, we're seeing the trucks in the background. I feel like this is a real organization that I can count on that's going to do business in a very good way. And there's lots of elements here, right? We got the video of Robbie, who runs the operation, talking about who they are and what they do and why somebody should choose them versus the competition. But we're also giving them the opportunity to convert in the way that's going to be most comfortable for them, right? Phone number in the top right-hand corner. Yes, most of your conversions are still going to come via people picking up the phone. But we're also giving them the opportunity to book directly online, right? And so this could go straight to your service tightener, straight to your House Call Pro. We also want to give them the opportunity to chat, right? To start a conversation. Give them a couple of different ways to convert. If you only allow the phone call, you're going to be missing the chat. You're going to be missing the online booking opportunity that exists. And I could talk about a lot of different factors, but these are the main things. And we're also calling out above the fold 24-hour emergency service. That fear, are they available? Are they going to get to me quickly? Is this thing going to get done right? Exceptional service, quality workmanship, 24/7. And so kind of looking at the Valley Plumbing example, here you can see about $10,000 spend, 510 leads, $18 average cost per lead. But really what I want to feature here is the conversion rate from visitor to lead, right? So we track this. We're very maniacal about looking at like how many visitors did they get? How many leads did they get? So what does that tell us about the average conversion rate from a visitor to a lead on their website? So in this case, 3,317 visitors, and that's a 35% conversion rate from visitor to lead. Right? I'm going to show you a couple examples like this because I think it's super important to know when you do this right, you can get up to 30 to 40% conversion from visitor to caller. And we showed this scenario earlier. If you're at 5 or 10% and you can get that to 30 to 40%, it has a huge impact on your average cost per lead, the number of leads that you generate, the number of book jobs that you have, and ultimately the amount of revenue and profit that you've got, right? It also means that you can spend more to get the customer, right? Because you're converting more of the opportunities that you get. Okay, another example I want to show you is the Base HVAC. This is an HVAC company out in Pennsylvania market. Not as much personality and authenticity. I'd love to get more pictures of them infused into the website, but we do have technicians on here. So here's the main thing on this site. Phone number in the top right-hand corner, professional branding, professional logo, interesting color scheme, stands out on the page, the ability to start a two-way conversation via chat with them. And this is our conversion amp platform, which I highly recommend you check out. There's lots to it outside of just the two-way text message chat. But what we've found is we want to use that bubble to capture attention and recognize some people want to chat and have a two-way text message. Other people just want to get to the key things they might want. So, in this case, I just want to schedule, right? So let's take them to the place where they can schedule a time. Or we can start that two-way chat and have that conversation right then and there. So there's the Base HVAC. Nice looking website, converts extremely well. Let's go to, the thing I wanted to feature here was you also want to recognize the difference between organic traffic, and we're building a website to make sure it comes up in the search engines so that we can capture that traffic. But you also want to have a version of the site with landing pages specifically for paid traffic because organically, we're going to have lots of things on the page so that it can be picked up in the search engines. We're going to showcase the reviews. We're going to have links to various things. When we're paying and when we're driving paid traffic, we're paying, $15, $20, $30 per click. We want to remove all the distractions and we want to take them down a singular path where we can really focus on the conversion factor. And so it's important to look and say, like, when it comes to our paid traffic, what does that page look like? Do we have a specific landing page for paid traffic. And so this is an example of a landing page that we drive traffic to. And you want different landing pages for each of the different services you offer with different, special offers and incentives. But you can see this is different in that it's not as busy. There's not as much going on. There's less distraction because we only want them to do one thing through our landing page. And that's to convert to a lead, right? We don't need them to click off. We don't need them to check out a dozen different things. And so you can see this is much more linear, and it's just getting the key things on a singular page. And we track this very, very closely to ensure we're converting at a very healthy level on these landing pages. So, as you think about how you're converting and kind of what your conversion factors look like, be sure that you've got, organic pages, right, that are written in a very specific way. But then you've also got landing pages specifically for your paid traffic, whether that's through Google Ads or Facebook ads. Give them one point of decision that they need to make. So here's another example, a company we've worked with for quite some time. This is the Meridian Advantage, and they're based in East Lansing, Michigan. You can see we've got a really nice video header going here that looks really sharp. We've got the ability to schedule right here in the top right-hand corner. We've got the phone number, lots of personality, lots of authenticity. We're giving them the opportunity to convert in the ways that make most sense for them. And then we're also leveraging social proof, right? We've actually got video testimonials that they're happy customers saying how good they are and kind of how great they are at what they do. Again, I'm trying to hit the 80-20. So you can look at your website, you can look at these websites and say, okay, what's the distinction, right? What can I change on my website to generate better results, to generate better outcomes, to generate better results? So you can see here, $7,000 spend, 666 leads generated, average of $11 per lead, 32% conversion from visitor to caller. Again, we really want to track these metrics. How many visitors are other websites generating through organic, through Google Analytics and through tracking mechanisms? And then how many leads are coming in? And we can divide that and figure out what's that conversion rate. So we're at a 32% conversion on this website. I'm going to hit a couple of these examples here real quick, and we'll get right through it. This is Nixco. They're a full-service plumbing company in Mason, Ohio. Again, I just want to emphasize the key elements. Phone number in the top right-hand corner, personality, authenticity with a real truck in the background, ability to book directly online, the ability to start this chat, two-way text message conversation in the bottom right-hand corner. Lots of personality, lots of authenticity. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want you to be able to look at your website, go through this checklist, and identify, like, what is it for you? What's the thing? What's the next thing you can focus on? Are we talking to the avatar? Are we using real pictures and authenticity? Do we have the multimedia there, like videos for each of those different services? Are we leveraging social proof where we can show them the reviews and show them that we actually do what we say we do? Do we have the phone number in the right-hand corner? Is there a web form? Are we using credibility factors? Are we telling them what to do at the bottom of each of the sections of the website? Are we offering special offers and incentives on the drain page, on the water page, on the HVAC replacement page? Is the website mobile friendly? Can I pull it up on my mobile phone? Can I click the call? Is it loading super quickly? And are we engaging via two-way text message? Do we have a separate landing page? Let me know if you're tracking along. If this is helpful, and I'm kind of going to more specifics here, but give me a 1 in the comments if this is helpful, or if I'm going too deep, type 2, like knock it off, right? 1 if it's helpful, 2 if it's too much information, and you're like, okay, I'm good. All right, I got a couple ones, so thank you. All right, so this is Nixco Plumbing, $5,800 spend, 535 leads, $10 average cost per lead, $10.99. And you can see here, 38%, very close to a 40% conversion from visitor to caller. What you measure gets done. What you measure gets done, it always improves. And so if you're not tracking what your conversion rate is, if you're not tracking these things, you're gonna miss it. Brian is asking, how do we track site speed? Let's pull that up. I think that's important. So let's go to gtmetrics.com. And GTmetrix is a great free tool to analyze your site speed. So if you put your website in here and you hit analyze, it'll tell you how long it's taking to load and all the key things you need to know on the site speed side of the equation. So hopefully that answers the question, Brian. I'll add that to the document. I'm glad you asked, so that you could just hit GT metrics, type your website in, and see how you're converting, or how fast your site is loading. Yes, and you can also use pagespeeds.web.dev, also a very good tool from Google called Google PageSpeed Insights. I'll pull that up real quick. So if you want to drop your URL, we can put that in as a little test so you guys can see how it works. So I do have a great cheat sheet for you guys if you want to have the Cliff Notes versions of this, like with a mock-up of how you want to structure the site. You can get that at go.plumberseo.net/cheat sheet. Again, we want to make sure we're seeing Joe Jones through Joe Jones' eyes. And when we do, we can sell what Joe Jones buys. And so that's really getting into that customer avatar, making sure we're speaking to their fears, their frustrations, their desires. We've spent a lot of time over the years now working with hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, home service companies. And we're pretty clear on what the demographics are, what the fears and frustrations are, what the implications of those are. And that's why we're able to write compelling copy that converts. What we found in terms of messaging that works really well that you can stack on your website is same-day service, emergency service, straightforward pricing, upfront pricing, trustworthy technicians. That tends to resonate really, really well. Make it easy for them to read that too. Don't just make it in block text. Like use emoticons, use icons and graphics to break up that messaging so that they can really, really get it. Use videos. In the case of Meridian, we went down there and we shot custom videos and it looks really sharp. We found that using a smartphone and just recording in front of your truck or in front of your building can be just as effective. So don't feel like it has to be hyper polished. Again, it goes back to this idea of being real, being authentic, letting them see who you are as an organization. The team images work well. It takes a little bit of time to coordinate the trucks and coordinate the team, but if you've got everybody with a custom branded shirt on and you've got the trucks in the background, that tells a story in an image that resonates with your customers. So I really recommend getting these types of images. Put yourself out front and center. Put your service manager out front and center. People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Showcase the social proof, like have the actual review count on your website. I'll just pull up here as an example, right? So on Meridian, in addition to being able to see videos, right here we can see they've got a 4.7 average review with 1,117 reviews, right? And we can go in and see those reviews and see those sources. Use a widget like this that lets you pull in all your reviews and showcase it on your website. And you can also have like a dedicated section on your website that houses your reviews and really paints the story of the great service that you provide. And what I like about this is we're pulling in Google and we're pulling in Facebook and we're pulling in Angie, we're pulling in Home Advisor and House. And it really tells the story of your company and the type of reputation that you have. I think I talked about all of these things on the live sites. Again, I want to hammer home the importance of how your website pulls up mobilely. Make sure that it's fitting on the screen. Make sure that there's the opportunity for someone to click a button and call, and they don't have to copy and paste your phone number. But when they hit it, it pulls up the number on their phone. Very frustrating when you get to a website and you see the number and you're trying to call them, but it doesn't have click to call, and you're like pushing the screen down to try and copy the numbers and trying to copy and paste. Make sure your website doesn't do that. Make sure that they can just call your office and be dialed in. Consider live chat. Your customer would prefer to engage with you via two-way text message. We've got a great platform called Conversion Amp. I've talked about it a couple of different times, but it gives you the chat widget. It lets you engage via two-way text message. It also has a lot of different automation mechanisms built into it, which I'll be walking you through here. But have that bubble that pops up and gives them the opportunity to text you or to engage with you. That's going to go a long ways. So I want to talk about automation, right? So we talked about the website and the key things your website needs to have in place in order to convert. I think I showed you live examples. I showed you bullet after bullet. Give me a yes if you feel clear on like some very specific things you can do on your website in order to improve the conversion rate, in order to bring it to best-in-class levels, in order to make all of your advertising more effective. But I want to now talk about automation. When it comes to conversion, we want the website to be built to convert, but we also need to make sure that we're following up on our leads as quickly as possible in order to improve our conversion rates. And so here's the problem. 50 to 60% of inbound leads, like they called in your office, don't convert. And something like 90% of web forms, so they fill out that little form on your website that says their name and their email address and their cell phone number and like kind of what their problem is, don't convert, really. And we audit this and we know that's the case. And the reason is, if your customers don't get followed up within 15 minutes or less, they're gone, right? They're literally off and scheduled with somebody else. The average customer has to be touched 5 to 7 times before booking. And I find most plumbing, HVAC, electrical companies, if they get a phone call in, they'll ask a couple questions and it'll either get booked or it won't. And if it doesn't, they're hanging up and they're moving on. Your dispatch team, your CSRs are too busy. There's no follow-up on the back end with inbound leads. And today's customers prefer to interact via text message, via phone. I've talked about this a number of times, but most of us are only wanting to have them dial the office number and have that conversation. And so the solution that will massively improve the conversion rate from your leads into your sales is leveraging automation, where every missed call gets a text back in 30 seconds or less, and every web form submission gets followed up with immediately via phone, via email, most importantly, via SMS. And then also we put an automation in place where every lead that didn't convert is getting touched at least 5 times via phone and two-way text message until they say no or until they book, right? If you put that follow-up and follow-through in place, you're going to get more book jobs, you're going to get more sales, you're going to convert at a much higher level for the leads that you already have in place. And so the tool we use for this is Conversion Amp. I'll put the link here in the chat. It's conversionamp.com. I've got a fancy flow chart here that explains all of the automations and all of the follow-up. I think the best thing for you to do would be to schedule a one-on-one demo with Rick on our Conversion Amp team. He'll show you exactly how it works. He'll show you exactly how it comes into play. And for us, this is part of the strategy we implement for the accelerated growth model, right? If you become a client, we're going to put automation in place. We're going to build out the website to make sure it's built to convert. And we're going to be leveraging organic and paid traffic and database marketing to help make sure you hit your lead flow targets and that you've got the outcomes that you're after. So I've got the checklist here that kind of walks you through the key things you want to think about, the key things that you want to put in place. My hope is that you've got some clear ideas, some clear strategies, some clear next steps. In your workbook, I'd love for you to pick like the top 3 things. Like, yes, there's probably more, but if you had to pick the top 3 things that you could and that you will change on your website, I want you to put that into your workbook so you're clear and you've got a clear next step. If you'd like some help with this and you're like, you know what, Josh, seems like you've got some good websites. It seems like you got a good design team. It seems like you understand the creative and the copy. You understand how to not just build these websites, but make sure these built websites are built to convert and that they also show up organically and that they also, can help us grow our business. If you'd like our help, we'd love the opportunity to connect. You can type "Let's talk" in the comments, or if you happen to be watching this after the fact, the best way to connect would be to go to plumberseo.net/schedule. That's plumberseo.net/schedule. Or if you prefer, you can call us at 866-610-4647. And what we'll do is a complimentary assessment of your current online marketing. We'll pull up your website. We'll run it through our checklist of the most important conversion factors. We'll run a keyword ranking report and show you for the most important keywords in your market, how are you ranking? Where are you coming up on Google? Where are you coming up on Bing? And then we'll show you what's going on with the website and what is missing to make sure you do come up organically. And then we'll also look, if you're running paid ads, we'll look at your current paid ad strategy and show you whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And we do that complimentary. Again, we do these assessments as a great way to build value within the industry. And if we can show you where there's room for improvement. If you've got a goal that we can help you accomplish, then we'll talk about how we do business together and how we can implement these results. So if that sounds good, again, no pressure, no obligation. You'll get value whether we do business or not. You can schedule that by going to plumberseo.net/schedule, or you can call us at 866-610-4647. And that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. If you've got clear things you're going to implement, I'd love to see you type those in as well. And it looks like Christian already dropped the link for Conversion Amp if you want to check that out. He dropped the link to schedule in a one-on-one if you want to schedule that one-on-one. So I'm just going to hang out for a second and see if there's any questions. I'm not seeing any questions, so I will say thank you for being here. Thanks for being an active participant today. We appreciate your time. And for those of you that are our clients, we appreciate your business. For those of you that are interested, we look forward to chatting with you and doing that assessment of your online marketing. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have an amazing afternoon, and we'll talk to everybody again real soon.